Some memories hurt so much that even 40 years later, the wound never heals. That injury is mine. And tonight, as I sat by this campfire, the hell inside me flared up again. I'm sitting with a few people under the stars in Wyoming's endless plains. The fire is crackling and the wind is blowing softly. But I'm not here. I'm back in 1867. I am 5 years old, and I'm holding on to my mom with blood on my hands from my dad. Does it even matter what my name is anymore? A long time ago I had a name. I had a family. I am now just a ghost with a red beard, a scar on my face, and death in my eyes. But every ghost has a tale to tell. And tonight, I'm going to tell that story. Fixing to is a classic American Western phrase that means about to or preparing to, because I want you to know. How do you kill a man's spirit? First, you take his family. Then, little by little, day by day, you cut out his heart. That's me. And this was my story. No, it still is my story. Barcelon Metin. Now I look around and see Martha sitting across the campfire. The old woman is the mother of this caravan. She holds a cup of coffee and stares into the flames. Jim, her husband, sits next to her and smokes his pipe. Their twin kids, Sarah and Tommy, are 8 years old and still awake, holding on to their mom's skirts. Over there is Samuel, the wise old man. He must be 90 years old, but his mind is as sharp as an 18-year-old buck. Jose, our half-Indian, half-Spanish tracker, is hiding in the shadows. It always stands that way. A man hits what he aims at, but he is afraid of being hit by words. 3 little girls, Big Mary, Happy Emma, and rebellious little Rose, are whispering by their tent. They don't know what life is yet. I hope they never do. And then there's William, 55 years old, knows every trail, and can fix any problem. He is the true head of this caravan. Me? I'm just a broken man they found along the way. I know I'm not the only one in this situation as I look into the campfire. You might have had times like these when you had to deal with the ghosts of your past. Those times when time stops and you go back to those days, even if you don't want to. I close my eyes and feel like I'm floating in space because of this campfire. The smell of smoke hits my nose, but it's not from this campfire. This is what Ireland smelled like in the 1860s when the ship was going to America. My dad was a soldier in the British Army. He fought the Russians in Crimea in those cold, unforgiving places. He left his left arm there, but he left his soul even further behind. He came to America with his wife and his hopes after the Crimean War ended in 1860. He was missing an arm. "Son," he would say to me, stroking my hair with one hand, "these lands will be a new beginning for us. We'll be free here. Freedom, that word is funny. They found death instead of freedom while their father looked for it. Anyone who was there would have been speechless, because watching your father die is the worst thing that can happen to a child. And I was only 5 years old. I remember that we lived on a small ranch in rural Montana. Even though Dad only had one arm, he did amazing things. My mother, Mama, was pretty. Like me, she has red hair and green eyes. Lily, my little sister, was only 3 years old and had blonde hair. It was a hot June afternoon that day. Dad was working in the fields. I was there with him, trying to help with my small hands. Mama and Lily were there. Then they came. There are 6 riders, guns drawn and faces covered. the gang of cowboys. To us, they were just death. They had no names. Dad pushed me behind a tree right away. "Hide, son," he said. And don't say a word. I didn't. When Mama found Daddy's body, her scream could be heard all the way to the hills. That scream is still in my head. That scream is always there, whether I'm awake, asleep, or dreaming. We put Daddy in the ground, a small grave and a small wooden cross. For days, Mama didn't say a word. I didn't talk either. Lily's happiness even went away. We tried to live on that ranch like three ghosts, but fate wasn't done with us yet. History books call the winter of 1886 the Great D-Up. It was so cold that the whole area, including Wyoming and Montana, froze over. A lot of cattle died. People died from hunger, the cold, and hopelessness. The phrase, "the Great Die-Up," was added to American slang. This was the name Americans used for the terrible winter of 1886 to 87. You know what I mean if you've been through times when you lost a lot. But for a child, losing your mother and sister is like losing your soul. Mama got sick. It all came together, the cold, the hunger, and the sadness. She took my hand and looked into my eyes on a snowy morning in January. "Be strong," she said. It was hard to hear her voice. "Look at your dad. He won those wars. He lost here, looking for hope. Don't lose hope," you said. That day she died. She breathed her last in my arms, in a cold cabin, in the arms of a 6-year-old child. Lily ... 2 weeks later, little Lily came after her. She got a cold, then a fever, and then she was gone too. She was 4 years old, didn't even know what life was. I put them in the ground next to Daddy. I dug in the frozen ground with my small hands. My tears froze on my face, but I kept going, because I had to do it for them. You might have been in situations like this too. You may have felt so alone that you wanted to die more than live. That was me as a child. 6 years old, alone, with no family and no way to help. But I didn't die. I wish I had, but I didn't, because fate had other things in store for me. Now I was by myself. How does a 6-year-old kid live? The answer is easy. You either die or you turn into a monster. I picked the second one. Had to make a choice. The ranch was now a burial ground. Every wall held painful memories, and every corner smelled like death. I couldn't stay there. I took my dad's old bag one morning and put some dried meat, a water bottle, and my dad's gun with one bullet left in it. And I began to walk. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to leave that place. A kid was walking through the snowy hills and freezing winds of Montana's countryside. I was that child, but at the same time it wasn't me anymore. That kid had died in the snow. In his place, someone else had been born. Things were starting to get better, ... No, I won't lie. Things never got better. They just started to act badly in different ways. The first night I slept in a cave. I was shaking because I was cold. My stomach was hungry, but I couldn't eat. I just sat there in the dark and thought about the last time we all ate together. Mama had made soup out of potatoes. Lily was laughing. I don't remember what Daddy was telling me, but it was a story. But we were glad, we were happy, like a family or normal people. They were now in the ground, and I was about to die of hunger in a cave. I found a town on the second day, a small, dirty place. But there were people there. I stood in front of a bakery and smelled the bread. The baker noticed me. A child who is dirty, tired, and has bones sticking out. "Get lost, you rat." He yelled. He shouted. Rats. People have called me that before, and they will again. I would hear a lot in the years to come. Please, stealer, scum. But that day, for the first time, I saw in someone's eyes that I wasn't a person. I wasn't the only one who was in this position. There were a lot of kids like this in the Wild West, but not all of the kids lived. I was one of those people. Is that a success or a curse? This time lasted for 3 years. I traveled from town to town and ranch to ranch for 3 years. I sometimes looked for food in the trash. I would sometimes sleep in barns. There were times when I had to steal. A blanket, water, and bread. I stole for the first time when I was 9. Bread that you buy at the store. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. But my stomach was so empty that my conscience stopped talking. I was caught. The store owner grabbed me by the neck and threw me out into the street. "If I see you again, I'll put you in jail with the sheriff," he yelled. But I did it again, and again, and once more, because I had to do it to stay alive. By the time I was 10, that little kid was completely gone. Someone tough, heartless, and untrusting took his place. My eyes had gotten cold. My face had lost all expression. You know what I mean if you've ever felt life change you. But for a 10-year-old, this change. This is the end of the soul, and every day I was getting closer to death. I got a job on a ranch in Wyoming when I was 12, taking care of cows and cleaning barns. The old man who owned the ranch was nice to me. Someone cared about me for the first time in years. One day he said, "You're a good boy. Be a good man by walking the straight and narrow." Walk the straight and narrow is an American phrase that means to live a moral and honest life. Straight and narrow. Good guy. Those words were so far away. I worked there for 3 months. I wasn't hungry for the first time. I had a bed for the first time. For the first time, maybe life could go back to normal this time. But what really shocked me was that fate wasn't done with me yet. On that day, 3 riders came to the ranch. Masks on faces. Guns are ready, and I knew them. Not their faces, but the way they stood and moved. These guys were like the ones who killed my dad. Maybe the same ones, maybe not, but it didn't matter. The old ranch owner didn't want to. "We don't have anything to give here," he yelled. The first bullet hit his chest. Just like my dad's, the man fell down. Blood, blood again. Blood all the time. I was hiding behind the barn, but this time I wasn't 5 years old. I was 12, and I had Dad's gun in my hand. The riders stole from the ranch house. After that, they left. But I made a promise behind that barn, holding the gun tightly. I promised myself that I would find these men one day, all of them, and settle the score. Anyone who has been through this knows that it is easy to swear revenge. But keeping that promise is a whole different story. The years between 12 and 19 are a blur. They all ran together, towns, roads, and faces. But I learned during these years. I learned how to use a gun. I learned how to ride a horse. I learned how to track. And most importantly, I learned how to kill. At 16, I killed my first man. There had been a fight in the bar. The man had pulled out his knife, so I pulled out my gun. I was quicker. The bullet went through his heart. I looked into the man's eyes when he fell. I saw fear. I saw sadness, but I didn't feel anything. Nothing but emptiness. A deep, dark void. I looked in the mirror that night. There was a new scar above my left eye from the fight. There was an old burn mark on my chest, over my heart. It was from when I fell into a campfire years ago. You might have had times when you felt like you weren't yourself, when you look in the mirror and don't recognize the face looking back. That night, I was that man. And that man was nothing like the child who died 12 years ago. The winter of 1886 to 87 came again after many years. It felt like fate was about to deal me the final blow that would kill me. At that time, I was in New Mexico, working with a small group of cowboys. Most of them were young men who didn't know what they were doing, naive but well-meaning. The great D-Up hit again. Death, hunger, and cold, just like 12 years ago. I didn't lose my family this time because I didn't have one, but I lost my friends. If you could say they were friends. 5 men had died of cold by the time I woke up one morning. They had gone to heaven in their tents and sleeping bags. They had calm faces, like death set them free. I lived through it again. I survived in a strange, stubborn way. People who have been through these kinds of things know that living is sometimes harder than dying. And every time, I was one of the survivors. Why? I still don't know. I was totally lost when I was 20. I had looked everywhere to find the men who killed my dad. I followed them. I asked, looked into, and threatened. Some nights I'd sit by the fire and try to picture the faces of the riders, but I had never seen their faces, just their masks, guns, and cruelty. I was consumed by revenge. At night I couldn't sleep, could not eat. There was only one thing on my mind: find them, kill them. But how? How does a 20-year-old man who is alone and doesn't have a name find a well-known cowboy gang? How do you get back at someone? The answer was easy. I needed power. I needed to have a good name. I needed a group. And at that moment, fate knocked on my door again. But this time, in a different way. I was in a bar in a small town in Arizona, sitting alone in the corner and drinking whiskey. William walked in at that time, a man in his 50s, with a strong build and sharp eyes. Had a few other people with him. He came to the bar, got his whiskey, and then saw me. Why did he stare at me? Why did he sit down next to me? I still don't know. He might have seen the anger in my eyes. He might have seen how lonely I was. Or maybe he saw a man who was broken like him. He said, "You look lonely, son." "I am," I said. Lonely men either die or find the right group. I stared at him. There was no threat or pity in his eyes, only the truth. "Your group?" I asked. "Proofread this," he smiled. "Maybe, if you're the right guy." That night, William told me a lot. But the most important thing was this: we are like a family, and families look out for each other. Family. When I heard that word, it made me feel something I had forgotten about for 13 years. But I quickly pushed that feeling down, because my family had died, and to have another family in their place, that felt like a betrayal. I said coldly, "I don't have a family." William said, "Everyone needs to belong somewhere. Where do you fit in?" I didn't know how to answer, because I didn't fit in anywhere. For 13 years I felt like a leaf blown by the wind. William said, We're leaving here tomorrow morning. We'll test you if you come. We'll take you in if you're good enough." He shrugged and said, "If not, ... double quotes, go on your way. What would you do? Would you join a gang if you were a man who had been alone for 13 years, was full of rage, and didn't trust anyone?" That night, I didn't sleep. From the saloon window, I could see outside. The stars were bright. The moon was no longer full, and I was trying to make a choice. If I joined the gang, I could get back at them. I'd get stronger. I would get a good name. But at the same time, I would have become like the people who killed my dad. A criminal. A murderer. But wasn't I already? At 16, I had killed a man. To stay alive, I had to steal, lie, and do all sorts of bad things. What's the difference? I had made up my mind by morning. I packed up my things, which weren't many, and went to the camp of William's group. The camp was in the rocks outside of town. Guns were pointed at me as I got closer. 3 men, ready to shoot. I said, "William sent me." One of the men said, "We were waiting for you." Young, with dark skin and a Spanish accent. I found out later that his name was Jose. I went into the camp, and for the first time in my life I saw a real group of people. The old woman, Martha, was cooking over the fire. Jim, her husband, sat next to her and smoked his tobacco. Their twin kids, Sarah and Tommy, were running around. Samuel, the wise grandfather, sat under a tree with his eyes closed, resting. Mary, Emma, and Rose, 3 young girls, were washing clothes. They started to whisper when they saw me. Mary, the oldest girl, had a serious look on her face. Emma smiled. Rose scratched the back of her neck and looked away. I wasn't the only one who had to deal with this. There was a story in each one. Each one had loss, pain, and searching. You might have found a community like this as well. That time when you think, I might belong here too. William came up to me and said, "Welcome, but keep in mind that you're not one of us yet. You need to show that you can do it first." "How?" I asked. "There's a job tomorrow. Robbery at a bank. We'll keep an eye on you if you come. We'll see if you're brave, smart, and loyal." Robbery of a bank. This was the first time I had ever taken part in such a serious crime. Yes, I stole, fought, and killed a man, but this was different, a planned robbery. "I agree," I said, because there was no way to go back now. The next day, 6 of us got on our horses. There were 5 of us, William, Jose, Jim, another man named Frank, and me. Martha and the others were moving the camp to a new place. They would throw them off our trail if something went wrong. The town was not big. Its bank was even smaller. But inside was the town's savings for 10 years. William said, "You will wait at the door. For your first test, a simple task. No one goes near the bank. Tell them to be careful if they come. You know what to do if they don't listen." Yes, I did. It meant to shoot. I was in front of the bank. My horse was next to me, and my heart was racing. Not because I was afraid. That feeling had died inside me a long time ago, because I was excited. For the first time, I was part of something. I finally had a reason to live. But the biggest shock was who I saw at that moment. There were gunshots coming from inside, screaming. Then William and the others came out, each with a bag full of cash. "Let's go," William yelled. A woman came out of the bank just as we were about to get on our horses. She was young and pregnant, and her eyes were wide with fear. please," she begged. "My husband was shot inside. Please help." I stopped. I looked at the lady. I looked at her belly, which was pregnant. And then I thought of my mom. I thought of my little sister. "Leave her," William yelled. "We're leaving." But I couldn't move. I saw my mom's last look in that woman's eyes, that feeling of being helpless, scared, and begging. "Please," the woman said again, "please let me get a doctor." You know that moment when you had to choose between your conscience and your life? That moment when your soul breaks in half, and no matter which side you pick, a part of you dies. I put my hand on my gun. The woman shut her eyes and waited to die. But I didn't shoot. I told them to go, run. The woman was shocked when she saw me. Then she turned around and ran. William urged his horse on and came up next to me. "What did you do?" "Why?" he asked angrily. "She was pregnant," I said. He looked at me for a second. Then he smiled. We rode for a long time. No one came after us. We got to the new camp in the dark of night. At last I wasn't by myself anymore. Martha made me breakfast when the sun came up. "Be careful, son," she said. There was worry in her eyes. "I'll be back," I said. And at that moment I understood. I had a reason to come back for the first time in my life. People who have been through things like this never forget. That moment when you realize that you are living for more than just yourself. That morning, I got it. And maybe revenge wasn't as important as it used to be, but I was still going, because some accounts need to be paid. I'm by the fire right now. The stars are bright. The wind is blowing softly. And me, a man of 48, I'm looking back at my life. That kid died, but maybe someone better was born instead of him. What will happen tomorrow? I don't know. But I do know one thing. I'm not alone anymore. And that makes everything different. The flames of the fire are slowly going out. Everyone near me is asleep. You can hear Martha's soft snoring, Jim's breath. Sarah and Tommy are sound asleep in their tent. Samuel is sitting under the tree where he always does with his eyes closed, but I know he's not sleeping. Old men never really sleep. Jose is on guard in the shadows. His shadow was clear in the moonlight. A man who silently watches over his family and hits what he aims at. And I'm here too. I'm 48 years old, have scars on my face and pain in my heart, but I'm not alone anymore. I put my coffee cup to my lips. It's gotten cold, but it doesn't matter. The important thing is that Martha gave me this cup. This simple gesture is everything I wanted for 13 years. I turned 48 today. No one knows that it's my birthday. I also didn't tell them, because families celebrate birthdays. And my family ... My first family has been in hiding for years. But these people, they are my new family. William said that. And maybe he was right. I think about the past. My father died 43 years ago. My mom and little sister died of the cold 42 years ago. I lived alone for 41 years, and for the last 3 months, I've been learning how to live again. You know that some wounds never heal if you've tried to make peace with your past, but you get used to them over time. The cut is still there, but it doesn't bleed anymore. The early hours of the night are starting to come. I run my finger over the scar on my chest, slowly with my left hand like I'm holding my mother's hand. That burn mark is from when I fell into a campfire years ago, but now it means something else. Now that mark stands for my survival, my strength, and my stubbornness. The scar on my eye as well. The cut I got in that fight didn't make me think about how weak I was anymore. Instead, it reminded me that I was standing, that I fell down but got back up, that I was hurt but didn't die. I touched my beard, which is red. My dad's beard was also red. Mama always said, "You're just like your daddy's son." I used to be proud of that. After that, when my dad died, I saw it as a curse. But now it's something to be proud of again, because I'm the son of my father, and he was a nice guy. He was a good man, but he was tired and had only one arm. He fought in Crimea, but he didn't kill anyone. He came to the United States looking for freedom. Did he get it? No, but he did try. What did Martha tell me this morning? Be careful, son. Son, this word is like a song that touches my heart. For 13 years, no one called me son. No one cared about me. No one ... No one cared about me. But Martha cares about me. I understand. The worry in her eyes is the same as the worry in my mom's eyes. The advice that Samuel gives is just as wise as the advice that Daddy gives. Sarah and Tommy laugh just like Lily does. They aren't my real family. We aren't related by blood. But our hearts are connected. And maybe, just maybe, ties of the heart are stronger than ties of blood. I'm not the only one who is in this situation. There are a lot of lost souls in the Wild West. Everyone has a story to tell. Everyone feels pain. But some of us are fortunate. Some of us get a new family. And that family brings us back to life. Right now, all I can think about is tomorrow. We'll face them tomorrow. The group that killed my dad. I thought about this moment for 13 years. I thought about how good revenge would taste for 13 years. But now ... I'm not so sure anymore. What will happen if I get my revenge? Will Dad come back? No. Will Lily and Mama come back? No. Will the loneliness of 13 years go away? No. But maybe ... maybe the anger inside me will go away. My conscience might finally find peace. I might be able to make peace with the past. Or maybe I'll get worse. I might kill more men. I might shed more blood. And maybe I'll lose this new family too. That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm really afraid of. I wasn't scared of losing my dad because I already lost him. Death is a friend to me now, so I'm not afraid of it. But I'm scared that this family will go away if I lose these people. I don't want to see disappointment in Martha's eyes. I'm scared that I will lose William's trust. I'm scared that Sarah and Tommy won't call me Big Brother. I'm turning back into that 5-year-old boy because I'm a 48-year-old man. That kid shaking with fear of losing his family. What would you do? Would you rather have revenge or a fresh start? Would you rather end the past or make the future? I tossed a coffee cup into the flames. It burns with a crackling sound, just like the anger inside me. But fire goes out after a while, and anger too. Maybe anger will go away too. I get up, I walk over to my horse. The animal hears me and lifts its head. The moonlight makes its eyes shine. A kind animal, a faithful pet. I tell him, tomorrow is going to be a hard day, but you'll be with me, you won't? The horse shakes its head, as if it knows. Samuel wakes up, he says, you didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. Are you afraid? No. But ... I'm thinking. What are you thinking about? I don't answer right away. Then Does revenge change anything? Samuel grins. Revenge doesn't change what happened in the past, but sometimes it's needed for the future. Accounts must be settled so that new pages can be opened. But what if you don't win? What if I lose this new family? The old man shakes his head. Being in a family doesn't mean leaving. Family is what matters most. They'll be with you no matter where you are. I go back to my tent, I get into bed, I shut my eyes, and I see that 5-year-old child again. That kid is hiding behind a tree and watching his dad die, shaking, sobbing, afraid. I say, don't worry, you will live. It will be hard, very hard. But in the end, you will find a family. It might not take the place of the first one, but they will love you too. And you'll be human again. The kid looks at me. He had tears on his cheeks. Really? He asks. Really, I say. People who have been through things like this know that the past is never gone, but the future can show us the light in the dark past. And every now and then, even lost souls find a new place to live. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Will I get back at them? Will I live? Will I come back to this family? I don't know. But I do know one thing. I'm not alone anymore. That's the best thing I've had in 43 years. I shut my eyes. This time I go to sleep. I have to be strong for tomorrow. This time I have to be strong for my family as well as for myself.